Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Retired Officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Great to be here, guys.
And we're joined with two guests in studio today. We've got Retired Sergeant Chris Leary, and we also have Sergeant Don Tatum. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So everybody having a good day today?
Absolutely.
Outstanding.
I'm a little scared, Steve.
Yeah.
Just to be on the to be out there. Leary's got some stories about me that I'm a little scared to hear out loud, but I'm gonna muscle through. Just let you know if I start to shake over here. It's all it is.
We got stories about Chris too.
Oh, we do. We do. Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, excellent. This is going to make for a lot of fun today.
Oh yeah, we'll have a blast.
Yeah, Fort Worth PD in the house.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Chris, let's start with you. You work for, or you did work for Fort Worth Police Department prior to retiring, correct?
Correct.
And how long did you work for Fort Worth?
29 years.
That's a long time in the profession.
Yes, sir.
And
only Fort Worth. I know from prior podcasts, you're like,
Yes.
these guys in Fort Worth, man, they just...
We have to stick to this, man.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
you guys really do.
And my son's there now.
Mm-hmm. Got legacy.
I heard that.
Yes, sir.
yeah, and we're hearing a lot of that legacy stuff going on too. Dads, dads.
Yeah, but it's different with
brothers.
the Leary name because when you say, "Hey, I'm Chris Leary," they go, "Oh, I know your
And he
dad."
is Chris Leary as well, so that poor kid is suffering.
He's like,
He's
"I've got
nothing like
stories,
me.
son. I've got stories."
He's like his mother, and he's suffering.
So that's a good amount of time there in Fort Worth. Wait, any special assignments while you were there?
Not really. I did some time as a neighborhood patrol officer, and then I promoted to detective, but a majority of my time was in patrol. I did 13 as an officer, 3 as a detective, and then 12 as a patrol supervisor before rounding up my career in charge of reality-based training at the academy.
Good deal. Man, that's a lot there. What about you, Don? You work for Fort Worth?
28 years.
Currently a sergeant?
Yes.
And so you said 28 years, right?
I'm at 28 and counting right now.
Now, as I understand it, you might be knocking on a retirement door.
Got 13 months.
All right.
And I am out in 13 months.
How many days? How many minutes?
I haven't not that close yet.
He's holding back. He knows the days. Now, any special assignments during your time there in Fort Worth?
No, when I came on board, I was a single parent with 2 young kids, and I needed the stability of a patrol shift. Knowing I was going to go 10-8, so I stayed with patrol all 28 years.
Mm-hmm. Man, good deal. Good deal. That is a long time in patrol.
It is. I did 7 years as an admin sergeant assigned to the South Patrol Bureau. But
Okay. And Curtis, you work on South.
Yeah, I'm South CIU, so I see where me and Don are at the same office.
So you have to see Curtis a lot?
Well, I did put up curtains on the door of the office.
Okay.
So I don't always see him when he passes by in the hallway, but
I do make a morning roll call every so often to see how the guys
he
are
does.
doing. But other than that,
Yeah, he's there.
their roll calls at 5:30.
yeah.
So
In the morning?
yeah, because I get there around 4:35 anyway. So
Yeah, no. The earliest I ever had roll call was 6:30. So 5:30. I don't know if I can make that. And you got to be there 15 minutes early because in law enforcement, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, right?
Yeah. I get up at 1:30 every morning when I go to work.
Woo. All right. Yeah, that's you're a better man than I am. I can admit it. Now, Chris, let's get into some of these stories here. Have you ever had an encounter with a reptile at work?
I have. I think anybody that's been in law enforcement for a significant amount of time has had some kind of a call with an exotic animal.
mm-hmm.
Ours was a snake. Someone called in that there was a snake in the grass in a very high crime area. By the time my partner and I had gotten down there, one of the officers, and I'm from Massachusetts originally, and I know you might think that there's maybe I have some hunting experience or something like that. I have zero. Everybody I know in Texas, they know how to hunt, clean animals, all that stuff. So they had this thing laid across the trunk of a car. It had to be 5.5, 6 feet. And it was obviously a house pet at one point, but it was dead. And of course, in law enforcement, you can't just do away with it or call animal control. You have opportunities. My best friend,
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking
my
about.
best friend, I'm going to leave his name out for now. He's retired as well. He's about 6'4", and he was riding passenger in another officer's patrol car. And we came up with a ruse to get them to come to the sector where they would both get out of the car and I could wind up the snake in the floorboard of the passenger side. And ideally, we were hoping he would get in, feel something and shine his light. And that's exactly what happened. So the ruse, so you understand this, and I'll try to keep it as clean as possible. We had an SO1, which is a retired officer that basically answers the phones at different substations. And he had been telling us about these naked pictures in the 1970s of these women holding shotguns and stuff that he had taken. I'd never seen them, but I told those guys via the computer in the car, hey, those pictures are in the mailbox, my mailbox at the sector. So those guys,
That got to the sector.
we were hiding in our personal vehicles, and they came in the parking lot like their life depended on it. Sparks flying. They pull up, and they're walking up the stairs. The old 1100 Nashville was an old bank, so it was you could see the stairwell. And they go walking up, and I'm running over to the car with the snake, and I'm coiling it up. Well, the driver, Mike, and that's all I'll leave it as. He's no longer with Fort Worth, but Mike was walking down, and he could see me. So he came around the corner, and he goes, "What's up?" And I said, "Listen, it's dead." That's all. So he shined his light, and he kind of giggled, and he got in the driver's seat. We all went and hid in our cars, and Brandon comes down. He doesn't move fast. He's tall and lanky, and he just gets in the car. Brake lights come off. The car pulls about 20 feet.
Oh, no.
Brake lights go on, and my buddy Brandon comes out the driver's side door with Mike still in the driver's seat. And he was the color of this paper.
Oh, I bet.
And to this day, he swears vengeance. But we're all laughing. He's like, there is nothing funny about that. And Mike says he shined his, he started kicking when he got in the car, and what the heck is this? And he shined his, that's not what he said. Shined his light, and it was just a massive inhale as he pulled himself over the computer and out the door.
That is not easy to
It's,
do.
and I've had things done to me
Not a
since
small
that I
guy.
deserve. But anyway, sorry, I'll try to keep it short.
I mean, is he still in therapy for this?
He's been retired quite some time. So,
That's deep material right there.
Almost had to do an E1 for that poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he still has nightmares to this day.
I mean, I bet every time he gets in the car now, he looks over there just be on the safe side.
just a quick look. Like we always sit with our back to the walls.
Yeah.
He's always like,
Yeah, especially since you said, I mean, he's like, there's something down there, and
I can only imagine myself. It would suck. And I'm glad it didn't happen to me.
oh yeah, there was one night, and I've mentioned this on a previous show. There's one night I came home late, and I had the lights off in the house, and I walked to the bedroom, and didn't think anything about it, and I had forgotten something in the kitchen, so I turned around to go back, and this time when I went back, I turned on the lights. There's a snake laying on the ground in the hallway. I just walked through, and
Barefoot.
no, I had on shoes, but still the creep factor
Yeah,
was there.
for sure.
I holler at the wife, "Hey, did you throw a fake snake in the hallway?" No. Like, oh crap, and
This house would have been burned to the ground. I'd be like, "Ma, get your stuff. We're gone. Get your stuff.
pack the wagon. The train's leaving.
I am not sleeping in this house."
I'm famous for another snake story, but we'll leave that one out of it for now.
Please.
I don't even want to know where you're going with that.
We'll talk later.
Now, Don, you've encountered a bad guy on a fence before. Is that correct?
I don't know if Chris remembers this one. Okay, so I'm very new. In the first couple of months on midnight.
Mary District.
Mary District, yep. And we got a call one night. We had burglars in a school. The school's right on Alta Mesa Boulevard, and there's a lighted intersection right there. So we rush to get there. We get a good perimeter set. I'm on the south side of the school. And I look up, and one of these guys is dropping off the roof. And he hits the ground, and he starts running towards the intersection. I get on the radio and say, "Hey, I got one on the ground." And they like, "Go get him." Okay. Air One happened to be there right at that instant.
Excellent.
Spotlight comes on, and they catch him running across Alta Mesa and then south on the street at that intersection. Now, this neighborhood has streets that curl. They go back, they wind around, they do all kinds of stuff. And again, I'm very new, and I don't know all these streets. But I'm on this guy. I come hauling around the corner, almost get two wheels on the patrol unit, get down, bail out of the car, and I'm on him. He makes a left, and then he makes a left, and I lose him going around the corner, and I forget to look at the street signs as I go around the corner. And it's like, what have it? I look up, spotlight from Air One. He jumps up on a fence. He's waist high over the fence. He sees me. He has his old crap moment, drops back down in the yard. I look, the gate is open to get into that yard. So I'm through. And I realize, what am I supposed to say? I see him, but I don't know where I'm at.
I have no idea where I'm at, but I got him.
Yeah. So I decide I'll catch him, I'll cuff him, and I'll walk him back around, and then I'll call out when I see the street sign where I'm at, right?
Sure.
Joe Cool, right? So I run into the backyard. He runs along the side fence. I'm listening to the leaves. He stops behind the shed, and he's waiting to see if I'll overcommit, and I don't. So then he pushes onto the backyard, to the back fence, and I run, and I get a hold of him when he's only upper body right on top of this fence. And you have to understand, this is a dog-eared fence. There are points on this fence, okay? And I latch onto him. Fresh out of the academy, I'm strong, I've got good wind, I latch onto him, and somehow I am losing this guy over the fence, an inch to 2 inches at a time over the fence. And it's like, what the hell? Okay, I finally ended up, I've got my back up against the fence. I've got both hands in a death grip around his ankle, and he is toes down. Okay, his kneecap is on these points. He's not saying a word, and I realize I might lose this guy. So in desperation, I yell, I got him. And another officer on the other side of the fence says, I got the rest of him, let go.
I got him too.
Okay, cool. Now, I'm a kinder, gentler rookie.
Okay, you can have him.
The other guy was second generation Fort Worth PD. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
2 sections of fence came down during that arrest, but I wasn't be able to see it, right? And then he's cuffed up, and then we're lifting him over 4-foot chain link fences, and we kind of went the long way out over several fences. But we got him.
Tug of war.
The poor guy didn't know where to go.
Why don't you say something? One of you let go. Say something.
What?
Well, we had to be hurting him bad.
I guess he was just in the middle. He didn't know who to say anything to.
Yeah.
Just, you both got me, or something.
I still believe
Not a
the fence was the victim in all this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, poor fence. Yeah, so you guys just have him on top of the fence, and you're both tugging on both sides, just pulling him further into
almost sounds medieval.
I guess
Really
Phil was
does.
stronger than I was. I don't know.
It's like those dog piles in like a house where
Yeah.
you're like, dude, that's my arm.
Yes.
Let go.
It doesn't bend that
I'm going to spray him.
Oh man.
Chris, ever played tug of war with a prisoner or a bad guy over a fence?
No, not that exact scenario, no, but the one I was talking about, yes. I've almost arrested a fellow officer in a dog pile. Unintentionally, and it's been done to me.
Put the cuffs on yourself. I got him, boys.
It's the new way of policing. I'm sorry, sir. I'm going to arrest myself here.
You're free to go, but me, I'm going to jail. Well, you told us earlier about a snake in a squad car. Any other animals
Yeah.
in cars before?
Yeah. Two of my star officers were working for me on West Division, and it was kind of a tradition to go get a coffee. Probably twice a week, we'd go to Starbucks, and being the supervisor, a nice guy, I'd pay. So we met at Montgomery Plaza Starbucks one night. It was getting close to going home time for me, and the two officers riding together. I'll tell you, you'll remember them, but since I haven't talked to them.
I already know it.
They meet me for coffee, and one officer comes in, and I'm like, hey, I can use first names. Like, what's Jason doing? He's like, oh, he's talking to his wife on the phone. I'm like, cool. It's like 10 minutes later, he comes in. I'm like, hey, what do you want? So I buy these knuckleheads coffee, not knowing they were putting a possum into the backseat of my car. I had a slick top Crown Vic, and I don't do possums. They're rats as far as I'm concerned. You can call them what you want.
Yeah.
But, sitting here years later, I deserved it because of what I've done. But
No, don't put that.
you
Yeah,
have
hold
to
on.
remember
This was a live possum, though.
this one. Well, I didn't know that at first. So I pay attention to the calls holding throughout the day and what my officers are getting dispatched to, and I saw them get dispatched to Nicomo because some lady saw a possum under her stove. So I get out and I get in my car, I tell the guys farewell. I'm going to head back to the sector, and I'm going down University Drive, and a rookie on Midnights pulls up next to me, and he's looking over at me, and I'm looking at him, and then he gets dispatched, so he does a U-turn and leaves. And then my MDC lights up. It's a message from him, and it says, "Hey, Sarge, is that your winter cap in the back window?" So I'm looking at the screen, and I look in my rear view, and I could just see a little bit of fur silhouetted from the street light. And I thought, my first thought was, they went and got a fake possum, and they put it in my car to be funny because they know I saw that call. So I drove probably 1.5 miles on University, lights and all, not my lights, but traffic lights, looking in the rearview mirror. I never once looked at what's in front of me. And when I finally came to Bluebonnet Circle, I started to slow down, and that thing moved about 3 inches on my dash. And I picked up the mic, and I said, I think we were West supervisors at the time, not district. So I said, West 210 to West 216. And that officer said, "Go ahead." Right away, I said, "Sector now." So when all the other officers hear that, I mean, the ones that are in the sector, ones that are on patrol, everyone's showing up.
Oh, we're all going.
Yeah.
So these knuckleheads show up, and they're putting their gloves on. Everyone's laughing. And, oh, my goodness. They pull it out, and he's holding it, and I'm literally like, "Don't come near me with that thing. I'll shoot you and that rat." But, yeah, that's the kind of fun we have, I guess. It was funny until it happens to you.
No, so was not dead, was
not dead.
alive possum.
They took it, put it in a box, and there was some woods right around the corner, and they went and released it. Some other guys that work for us, his twins, backwoods, told me what they did with the last possum they had, and I'm not going to repeat it on here. I just stared at them for like 5 minutes, and I'm like,
After he
what's
says
wrong with you
backwoods,
guys?
and then,
Everybody in Texas is that I know. I'm just kidding.
It's coming from Pat's fan.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It
Patriots.
is what it is.
How's your season going?
Hey,
Sorry.
how many Super Bowls?
best comeback in the world, right?
That's what I was
How
told
many?
the first
Yeah.
20 years I was in Texas. How many Super Bowls do they have?
But going back to the possum,
Yep.
if I see a possum somewhere, I'm not picking it up. What about you guys? I mean,
No.
Well, in this instance here, it's in the house, so we're going to have to remove it at some point in time. You've already got your hands on it. So
That's what animal control's for, bro.
yes.
My guys are overachievers, man.
I mean, the worst you're going to get from a possum is like,
This is the
they're scared
sad
of
thing
you.
is all they saw was like, we're going to help this lady out, but we need this so we could screw with our sergeant.
Absolutely, yes.
Never miss an opportunity. We established that
Absolutely.
earlier.
Yep, no, for sure.
Did they ever get any free coffee after that?
Well, yes.
Okay.
They promoted, and we would meet
Okay.
up. So sorry.
All right. We'll be back.
You're listening to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. Visit us online at offbeatcopshow.com.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
And we're back. Back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Thanks for having me.
And we got two guests joining us in studio today. We've got Retired Sergeant Chris Leary and Sergeant Don Tatum.
Howdy.
Now, this segment of Offbeat is sponsored by our good friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. Now, Don, you kind of mentioned something to me during break here, and we got off on talking about snakes during that first segment, and you mentioned you kind of have a snake story, right?
Well, apparently, Chris and I have something in common because I played a prank on an officer with what looked like a snake with similar results.
So it wasn't a snake, but it looked like one.
It looked like a snake.
Good enough.
So we had a
all say.
3-vehicle accident at a major intersection. I had an officer that was south of the intersection blocking traffic, and I came down to check to see if he needed a break. Unfortunately, this is a case I'd promoted, but it wasn't necessarily the smartest decision I made. And as I'm walking around in the street, I find this little green tube of hose that looks like a grass snake laying in the middle of the street, and it's hot. It's very limber. Okay, and I pick it up, conceal it in my hand, and I walk up and approach the officer who's sitting across traffic in a squad car, and I approach him from the passenger side, and he rolled the window down, and I said, "Hey," and it went up, and it went in right through the window, and it landed in his lap.
Oh, no.
I didn't realize this officer was actually very afraid of snakes.
It's just not right.
But you confirmed it at that point.
Oh, yeah, there was ample evidence that he was petrified of snakes. Yeah, he froze in the seat. And it's a wonder he didn't do something that would require a hazmat team to clean, but he didn't. So I had to apologize profusely for that. But it was funny until the snake landed in his lap.
That's just good aim.
It was good aim.
It's just
It was small. So
just a small little snake.
Yeah.
You know what? It moves and does not have legs.
it moved and it didn't have legs.
That's not right.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
Yeah.
Oh, we kind of have a theme going here with animals today, or rodents and reptiles. Like that, rodents and reptiles. Which, Chris, let's get back to you. Any rodents?
Staying on the same subject. So
Going back to you in rodents.
brand new rookie. I probably hadn't been cut loose 6 months back in Mary District. Of course, I was second shift. It was cold. I remember it was around Christmas time, and I was dispatched to literally, it said a rat in the toilet.
It was not a rat in a cage. It was a rat in a toilet.
We had good supervisors, but we didn't have the same type of equipment we have now where a supervisor could just readily pull up a call and read all the details. So I would have canceled that call as a patrol supervisor, handle it, call somebody else. But being bored, it was cold and we were running a lot of going on, I decided to take the call thinking when I got to this house, it was a beautiful house, like in a really nice neighborhood. I knock on the door. I'm expecting this little old lady to answer the door because she saw a mouse or something in her toilet. And this man answers the door. He's got to be 6'5", 300 pounds. Turns out he used to play TCU football.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And he's like, "Yes, sir, come on in." And I'm thinking,
Okay.
what am I going to do for you, man?
So
I walk in. He brings me to the main hallway, and he points, and he goes, "Okay, you go all the way down. That last door on the right is our bedroom. It's an add-on. You do a horseshoe when you walk in, and it's our bathroom's there, but the door's closed because I saw what I saw." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Now, since it's an add-on, there's a back door that goes to the backyard. That's probably how it got in." And I'm like, "All right, no problem." So I look the other way, and like the wife and kids are like peeking out of the hallway, looking at me like, "Help us."
Yeah, they've got cover.
And now the dad, the big guy's like walking that way, pushing them in the room and like slamming the door shut. Like, "Here, go handle it."
Are you not wondering? Holy
I have
crap!
no clue what the hell I'm
Holy
doing.
crap! What is at the end of the hall?
I have no
that-
clue
Yeah.
what the hell I'm doing. I walk in, and I'm this young dapper, ready to go.
Start me back up.
And I pull my baton out and I extend it. And
That's
I
just going
push
to piss this thing off,
I
probably.
push that door open and the lid to the toilet's down. So I'm like, all right. So I lift up that lid and I can see the tail clear around the whole bowl of that
Oh
toilet.
my God.
And I went,
Oh, that's a field
that's
rat.
a rat. No, that's a rat, dude. So, and I can't make this up. So this isn't as coarse as the walls were in this particular house. As soon as I lifted that lid and realized it was a rat, this thing jumped out. It was wet. It scaled the wall as far as it could, and it landed on top of a protruding mirror, like a medicine cabinet, right in front of me. It's just sitting there. And I'm in the doorway.
Shots fired.
I'm in the doorway just like, what just happened? And as plain as day, this thing jumps right at me.
No way.
No.
And all I can see is like this horrible little thing. And I screamed at the top of my lungs. I know I did, because it hit me and it ran under the bed, and I ran and jumped on top of these people's bed.
When you say you screamed, it wasn't like just like a blood curdle. It was like a woman.
You know, if you can get away with saying that these days, you'd have thought a woman was in there. Yes. But now I'm standing on the bed. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And this thing runs out and goes under the treadmill. So all I do is grab my baton. I'm like, maybe this will work. I prop open that back door and I start banging on the treadmill. This thing runs along the wall and goes out. And I shut the door and I go,
Problem solved.
open up the door. Every one of them's looking down the hall like this, like prairie dogs.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like, it's gone. And they're like, what? Okay, thank you. And I start to walk out, and the woman grabs me by the arm. She goes, are you okay? And I was like, why would you ask that? She's like, well, we heard you. And I'm like, ma'am, everything's good. Have a good day.
I mean, ma'am, that wasn't me. That was the rat.
That was a rookie just trying to do the right thing. And that rat.
I can just
had
see it
other
now.
plans, man.
Officer, was there a female back with you?
Yeah, I got her out the back door also.
Yeah. You didn't tell me about the little girl that was in there.
Yeah. So this sounds like it was an enormous rat.
Honestly, to me, it looked like a bowling ball, but it was probably the size of a tennis ball, maybe a little bigger. But
So we talking
either way, I've seen field mice and little things like that in my home or whatever, but this was a rat.
There's like 3-4 pound rat. Something like that, yeah.
You knew it was
Not
bad when
good.
it had a tattoo. It's been around a while.
I'm smoking a cigarette.
My luck, it would have been possum.
Yeah, I was gonna say same size as the possum that was in your car.
No, it wasn't that big.
Oh, God.
No, thanks.
Sorry.
You know, I don't want to break off on a tangent here, but I was going south on 35, headed to work one day, backed up in traffic, and just parked on the highway. I won't name the city here, but as I was sitting on the highway, I had noticed something running back and forth across the highway as we were all parked and not moving, and there's a jumbo rat, huge rat. He ran over.
I ran it over.
Well, he ran over underneath someone's car, and this was a truck that was lifted up off the ground, and I could see underneath the truck, this thing stood up on its back legs and then climbed right on up inside the car.
Like, it's going to be a bad day for that guy.
Compensate for that, buddy.
Of course, then that makes me want to get out and check my car. Yeah. Of course, I'm not getting out because I'm not dealing with any of your 2 or 3 pound rats.
No.
Screw that. All right. Maybe we need a break from rodents and reptiles for a minute. Don, you guys use codes in Fort Worth?
Yeah, we do.
What's the code for taking someone to jail?
We go on 10-15.
10-15. So what's a 60?
60 is a stolen vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Rolling stolen.
Yeah.
Any stories?
Which we all like to chase if we can get them on view.
Absolutely.
And we still will under certain circumstances. All the things have slowed down. No, my first 60, first one. So I'd gotten out of the academy. We did 14 weeks of field training, got cut loose. I spent 1 month on day shift and went to midnights. And we had what we called a Blue Christmas detail. Okay. So I have a academy classmate, and we'll call him Jay for now. And we were doubled up working this Blue Christmas detail. Okay. And we're green. We're new. We are unproven assets. We're not even assets. We're totally unproven, right? And we had a senior officer. He's gone. His name's Bobby. And he was kind of the senior officer, and we had 4 officers working. So we're driving around this place called Hewlett Mall in Fort Worth. And at the time, between the shoe store and the Hampton Inn, there was a big parking lot. So as we're just circling around, we pull up, and there's this guy, and we pull up on him from behind, and it's a red Ford Ranger pickup sitting there, and the door is open. It's broad daylight. 3-story apartment building right next to us, okay? And this guy is standing there, and we realize very quickly that he is urinating next to the open door. We also realize that there are breaks in the stream, which means part of the time he's peeing into the door and part of the time he's peeing on the ground next to the door. Now,
You gotta have a
Don't
gotta
judge.
have a
yeah. Well, he's got a cell phone in one hand, so he's trying to multitask, and that's not working out well for him. So we look, we stop, we plug in the license plate on this truck into the MDTs, because when I started and when Chris started, we didn't have the computers.
Yeah.
We had a mobile data terminal. You would run somebody on the mobile data terminal. You would write them tickets. You would let them go. And 10 minutes later, ding, ding, felony warrant. Okay? They were that bad. So we walk up, but run him, get out, call out in a 51, which is an investigation, and walk over to make contact. And right as I get up to him, and Jay's right behind me, he starts moving the hips around like guys do when they're trying to make sure they shook it all out, right? He manages to tuck it in with one hand because he's still on the cell phone, all right? And he sits in the car, and I grab the door before he can close it. He looks up, he sees the officer, and he gets a very sheepish grin and starts laughing because he thinks he just got busted urinating in public, and it's not going to be a big deal, right? Okay. Well, we're not sure what we're dealing with. There's a beer bottle in the console. So we said, you know what? We're going to do this the right way. So we pull him out, turn him around. We're laughing with him. We hook him up. It's no big deal. We walk him back, and we set him in the back of the car. I should preface this by saying that the senior officer, Bobby, had just talked to us and said, I need to run over to my apartment over here. Will you guys be okay for a couple of minutes?
Famous
Sure,
last words.
sure.
Famous last
Sure,
words.
no worries, right? So we pull up on this thing. We get this guy in the back of the car. We get back into the unit, and the computer's flashing. Stolen vehicle.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And again, being new, I picked up the mic and said, be advised, we're out with an occupied 60. Go ahead and start us one more unit. I didn't say we already had him in the back of the car. I understood that Bobby said something like, oh, shit, never made it to his apartment and turned around and was running code to get back to us. But so the end result, and we didn't find this out right there on the scene, but it turns out that the truck belonged to his girlfriend, and it had been stolen, and they got it back, and they didn't tell the police that they got it back. So it's still in the system. So he's not the registered owner. We don't have a number that the registered owner will answer, and he got to go to jail. And the truck went to the pound.
Yep.
So I don't know what would make her more angry, the liquid in the door pocket or the fact that she had to pay the towing fees. But, yeah.
And when he says MDTs, you could send smoke signals faster than these things.
Absolutely.
Walk the information to communications off a bolt and get a better result.
Yeah, all the way from Hewlett Mall. And, still got a faster return.
It was funny when you said that the shoe store, it brought back memories because where the In-N-Out is now, it used to be Larry's Shoes, right? Wasn't that where Larry's Shoes was at?
That's a little closer to the corner of South Hewlett, but a little further down towards the Hampton Inn where that hotel is right now.
Yes, okay.
There's something else in there now. They built something. He thought he was safe because there was an 18-wheeler parked laterally in the parking lot, and he thought nobody could see him, but because of the reefer unit, he couldn't hear us coming either. Yeah. So.
Can I tell a real quick MDT story?
Yeah, about well.
So the way they were set up, you may have seen them. They're relics. I mean, we have one at the academy. There's just a series of buttons. 10-7, you're en route. 10-23, you're on scene. 10-24, you're cleared. 10-15, 10-30, en route to jail. Arrived at jail. Well, there was a 99 button. The 99 button would tell you the date and time. But no matter what button you pushed, the tone was the same.
Okay.
It never changed. So I'd be next to my buddy. I'm going to start with Darren, who's retired now. We ran together, and so we'd be together, and we'd see a call hold, and he'd go, "All right, let's punch, man, and see who gets it." So I'd hit the 99 button and not clear, and he would hit his 24 button and get the sheet. And he'd always be like, "Why am I always getting the sheet on these calls?" And I'd go, and I'd hit the 24 as I'm like driving off, like, "I'll be your assist, dude. It's cool." For like 2 years, he's like,
He never picked up on it.
"Oh, shit." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude. I had to come clean with him years later, but we finally got the new computers. You couldn't get away with that stuff." But anyway, real quick, that just reminded me.
Oh, that's actually pretty golden, man. I was like, man, just your luck, bud.
Man, I don't know what it is, buddy.
Dispatcher likes you, I guess. Right? Oh, Lord.
Oh, and going back to the stolen vehicle, we've learned a lot of things on the show. If you're listening and you have your vehicle stolen, if you find it on your own, make sure that you contact local authorities and tell them
Absolutely.
you've recovered your own vehicle. And
I used to tell them the same thing. I'm like, listen, if you don't, you're gonna get pulled out at gunpoint. I don't care who you are,
Yes.
because at this point in time, we don't know who you are. So
Yeah, you're coming out.
Not only that, if your car gets stolen and you want it back, there's a problem. Because if mine gets stolen, I don't want it back. I've seen too much of what goes on in those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
dirty
And
Mike
what's
and the
left
boys.
in those things. Yeah.
speaking of what's left in things, Chris, you ever come across passed out driver?
Ooh. Yes, sir. So I was a fresh corp. I just made corporal. And in Fort Worth, in order to be a detective, you have to make the rank of corporal. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a detective right away. And in my case, I did 3 months in patrol in the same position, same area I was in, which was over in Frank District on the east side of Fort Worth. So they basically put me as a quasi supervisor in that district. And one of the very first calls one night was there's an individual passed out behind the wheel of the car on the eastbound exit ramp to Oakland from 30. So it's an uphill kind of deal. And he's about 8 or 10 car lengths from the light, and he's just sitting there. So if somebody called it in. So we get up behind him. We pull up. Fire department pulls up. And this guy's like heads against the window, and he's out.
He's snoozing.
So my partner, I'm going to call him Chris. I said his name earlier. You guys know him. Chris and I are good friends, and he's on one side of the car, I'm on the other. FD, they had shaken it a couple times. They're like, this guy's not moving. So I go, Chris, get on the other side. So we counter each other, and we're shoving. Because it's a small car. We've got this thing literally coming about a half an inch off the ground each way. And we're looking at each other. I don't know. Growing up in Massachusetts, we used to throw snowballs at cars, and when someone would chase you, you just couldn't stop laughing. It was the same reaction. Like, we're shaking this car. This guy's head's just bam, bam. No, we're not trying to injure him as much as we're trying to arouse him. Not rouse, that was the wrong word. Awaken him. So his head's hitting, and we're just laughing. We're laughing. The fire department's laughing. Well, here comes MedStar. They come over Oakland, and they turn the wrong way, which is fine, down the ramp, and they're about 20 feet from him, facing him. Lights going. And Chris and I are laughing, and all of a sudden his foot just kind of slips off the brake. Now, this is a big drop on the 30 if he makes it that far. And there's a couple small signs, like left turn, like a stupid little sign. So as soon as his foot comes off, I'm looking at Chris. Chris look at me, and I'm like, so now I got to make a decision. I'm like, dude, break the windows, break the windows.
Yeah.
So we're running next to this car, just wearing out these tinted windows. And you know what happens when you hit him with a baton? It just makes the indent. So we're clearing out all the glass. He bounces off MedStar. And then one of those posts, he just hit it. It bent a little bit, and it stopped him enough where this poor guy had shards of tiny molecules, glass all over him. And he's looking at us like, what happened?
You ran into an ambulance.
But to this day, I'm thinking, oh, man, now we got an accident. No. Yeah, it's an accident. We got basically a use of force. We've got damaged property. We got a DWI. Got a DWI officer that comes out. It's like, man, this dude's got too much glass on him. I can't do a DWI on him. So, yeah, it was all fun and games until the foot fell off the deal. And I honestly, I don't want to take up too much time. We'll go back to Don, but I have a very similar story about someone passed out.
Yeah.
And, that happens a lot. And,
All the time.
And I know a
Folks
lot
don't
of our
understand.
listeners have come across that. I came across many of those in my career. Someone is so intoxicated, they roll up to the red light, they stop at the light, and light turns green.
Catch
They
him a little nap.
Passed out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just pass out, and the only thing holding that car is their foot on the brake.
Yep.
Don, any stories like that? You're down there laughing at the end. So
My guy wasn't passed out. My guy was blotto and driving the wrong way northbound on Hewlin where it's divided.
Yep.
Coming up to Alta Mesa. And so I turn around and I'm paralleling and I got my lights and sirens going. He's aware of me, so he starts to make the turn to go west. And there used to be a gas station right on that corner. So he pulls into the gas station. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be fine, right? Whoever ordered cars and equipment that year for the year of the unit I was driving thought it would be a good idea to set it up so that as soon as you unbuckled your seatbelt, the siren would go off. Now, in theory, if nobody runs from you, that's a good idea. But if they turn around and they run from you, it's not, because now you're trying to
Re-engage.
reconnect your seat belt so that you have it on like you're supposed to when you're running code. So he did the pump and fake. He stopped, and as soon as I started to open my door and I was out and the siren went off he goes. and this was my first or second pursuit. And we went straight west. And you worked your way along Alta Mesa, then it became dirt road, went down by the golf course, and then it went all the way into Benbrook. He went in a straight line. He didn't make a turn at any intersection whatsoever. One of the veteran officers got to me coming down off of Winscott, so I stayed right behind him, right? I'm all wired up. It's my first year. Good. And everyone tells us that, if he goes straight at the next corner, that's a cul-de-sac. He's got nowhere to go. Good to go, right?
Yep.
So we got cars on both sides of this thing. He goes up in the cul-de-sac. He makes the turn. I'm right in the middle. I can't go anywhere. So no GO violation, right? I end up blocking the road because there's no place for me to go. So I bail out and I run up. He is stopped and the hamster is full bore on the wheel inside his head. And he's trying to figure out what to do next. And I get to the door and I jerk this thing open and I grab a hold of him and I give a big yank. And I look, and the car's still in gear.
Yeah. Decisions.
So I held on with one hand, chucked him back with an elbow, knocked him the other way in the seat, reached in there and slammed the thing into park, and then snatched him out of the car. So no damage to anything. So it was his birthday. He was drunk. He had a bunch of weed for personal use, the whole bit. It was a bad night for him, but yeah.
Yeah, happy ending. Bad guy goes to jail.
Yeah. So.
Let's talk to Daniel Cook now from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. 833 Cook DFW is the phone number. The website is cookdfw.com. Now, Daniel, we actually hung out on New Year's Eve, but I didn't get the opportunity to tell you Happy New Year. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. And you had to leave a little earlier than the time the festivities took place, but it was a good time. Glad to get to see you up there. And, you get up there at our friend's place and you tend us to shut off and have a good time and relax and enjoy everything.
It was nice. Very, very relaxing. Great place up there. A to Z Guest Ranch. Now,
that's right. Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the new year, and what's the best way homeowners can start the new year?
Well, as we're starting to clean up from the holidays, we're taking down all the decorations, we're walking around our yards, we're preventing anything, from getting damaged more or preventing any damage at all. Of course, we want to get ready for the cold weather coming up. So we're going to be protecting our faucets and looking at any kind of problems with screens and windows, doors, gaps around, large air coming into your home. It's just a perfect time for us to also come out and do a roof inspection, help you with your property, look around. We're more than just a roofing company. I know a lot of roofing companies are out there, but we actually help you with garage doors, front doors, patio doors, windows, just everything that we can do to protect your home from both the winter and summer and just all the months combined. So let us come out and we can really get you started well with giving you a good appraisal about how your home is prepared for the year ahead.
Good deal. Start the new year off right, guys. Give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration for any of those roofing, remodeling, or restoration needs. The number is 833 Cook DFW and the website cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask about their free first responder upgrade. And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We're joined with two guests in studio today. We've got Retired Sergeant Chris Leary and Sergeant Don Tatum. Now, if you have not checked out the website, check it out. offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. There on the website, you can listen to all previous shows, as well as if you look at the top, we've added a link at the top of the website for the RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation. Again, the foundation is there to benefit the families of our fallen here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And unfortunately, there is a need there for the foundation. And again, the foundation established by our brother Russ Martin many years ago, the Russ Martin Show, and carried on with the guys from the Treehouse podcast. And again, the foundation provides monetary assistance to the families of our fallen officers and firefighters killed in the line of duty here, covering 10 counties in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So you can click on the link up there, make a donation. I'd invite you to do so, guys. Also, if you're an officer and you've got a funny story to share, you want to come on the show and share with the listeners, send us an email. That's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com.
Better be careful. You get more than what you bargained for with that guy.
Yeah, we got an octave change that time. went up a little. No, we enjoy having seeing new faces here in the studio, as well as officers from around the country. So if you want to be a remote guest, just send us an email. We can bring you in from anywhere. Also, check us out on Facebook. Let me see, where else? Instagram, also YouTube. If you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, like, whatever, share, all that kind of stuff. So, Chris, you mentioned on break something about a car in gear.
Yeah, that's when Don was talking about yanking that guy out of the car, and the car was still in gear. It immediately brought me back to probably my last 6 months as a supervisor. The newer Tahoes have a hill assist. So if you're sitting on a hill slightly, it'll pop on your dash. It'll say hill assist engaged, and you can literally take your foot off the brake, and it's almost like it's in park. I was coming from dinner one night and I saw an egregious violation that I had to pull over. So as a supervisor, I pull this guy over, and he pulls into a gas station parking lot off of Camp Bowie. And my Tahoe, it's an incline to get into the parking lot. And the guy stops just inside the parking lot there. So as I pull up my Tahoe onto that incline, my Tahoe stops, and it feels like it's in gear. So I get out of the car and I approach.
Near.
A co-sergeant saw me pull this guy over, so he pulled up behind me, and he's a very attractive Hispanic sergeant, perfect hair, and he's walking up. You can see him in the camera walking up on the side, and he's adjusting his belt, making sure he looks good. And I see him turn as my Tahoe's rolling towards this car, and he's like, jumps in front of it, and he's going, Leary. And so you see me running back, jumping in and throwing it in park. I didn't hit him. But then I just turned around and walked up to the driver's door. I said, y'all are free to go. Yeah. Y'all have a good night.
Absolutely.
I don't even know if I told him why I stopped him. but I almost hit him. I know that. Yeah. So, but anyway, sorry. That's Don reminded me of not having it in gear. Yeah. But it wasn't Don's fault on his.
Don't tell him why you stopped and just walk up there.
That's pretty much it. And he was like gone like a fart in the wind. Yeah. Speaking of, Chris, what is the worst odor you've come across in your time there in law enforcement? Most of us will tell you death, 100%. But we are graced by the company of probably one of the greatest producers of flatulence that I have ever smelt. We were in an apartment complex in a very not so good area, and a car had driven off a ledge. So we're just sitting around joking around and leaning on the railing. There's probably 5 or 6 of us. And he was downwind.
Who was downwind?
That gentleman right there, Mr. Curtis.
Point at
Curtis Hadley. I could say his name because he was introduced here. And he had just started working for me. And I'm sorry, he's upwind. I'm downwind. And I smell like I'm talking to the guys, and I smell this odor, and I'm thinking, oh my God. Was that one of y'all? And I look down, 5, 6 officers, and at the very end is Curtis, and all I can see is him doing this.
He's
bouncing.
He's bouncing and laughing to himself so hard because he knows. I guarantee that one was hot coming out. There's no doubt in my mind. We've all been there, but man, he got us good on that one. Anyway.
Oh, Curtis.
Bottle that stuff, you wouldn't need tear gas.
It's true.
Shame on you, Curtis.
Oh, man. I couldn't help it.
And you know, this is not the first flatulent story we've heard.
You know, you got to be good at something. So God blessed me with that one. That's all I can tell you. So.
Right. Everybody's got skills, right? All right, guys. That's what we have for today's show. Chris and Don, thanks for being here.
Hey,
it's been a pleasure having you here in the studio.
Love to come back.
Outstanding. Yeah, we'll definitely come back and We need more stories about Curtis. we always welcome those. All right, guys, keep it real, keep it funny. Until next time, stay safe and watch each other 6.